voice can break the dark. A single spark ignites the heart. But if we turn when justice calls, the chains we forge will bind us all. When truth is silenced, when lies take hold, the cost is freedom, the soul grows cold. No one stands tall while another must fall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, defending every voice, defending every right. For the moment we falter, the moment we stall, we lose our own freedom when we let others fall. You can't stand free while others kneel. When justice fades, it's freedom they steal. An innocent condemned, a crime unspoken, and with it the bond of liberty is broken. No tyrant rules without our consent. Oppression thrives where silence is spent. Stand for the weak, the silence the small, or freedom will crumble for us all. We're mavericks of freedom, guardians of the light, fighting for the truth, for what is just and right. For the rights of one are the rights of all. We rise or we fall by answering the call. Even those we may oppose deserve the rights we all uphold. For if we deny them what is fair, we build our own prison in despair. The fight's not easy, it never will be, but justice for one is the key to be free. We stand as mavericks, together we strive, defending the rights that keep freedom alive. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, upholding every truth, protecting every right. When one is oppressed, we're all in the thrall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. So take a stand, let your courage rise. Defend the truth, don't compromise. For the soul of the world, the writing's on the wall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for
Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
And they're off. Election called. They're running. Mark Carney set the wheels in motion for people, Canadians, to go to the polls April 28th, as expected. We have, no, we're just one, but two, count them, two rallies to take you to tonight. One with Mark Carney, the other with Pierre Poilievre, and maybe more. And we might get to the phones. That depends on a lot of things. Plus, we have another story, a big story, well, an important story, a story of a local hero who passed away. Brian Howell will join us during the broadcast to share that story and his personal account of what happened. Stay with me. Lots to unpack tonight on this, the beginning of Decision 2025 for Canada. The future of the country hangs in the balance.
Greetings, brave mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
All right, right out of the gate. Let's first of all, I know Brian is waiting in the wings, so let's just bring him in. But the whole game plan for tonight's broadcast has gone straight out the window. Computer problems, internet problems, everything crashed. I barely got things running just before we came on air. Plus, we have 2 rallies to go to, the election call and Brian's story. But let's bring Brian in so we're not keeping him waiting. Hello, sir. How are you tonight?
Hello, Rick. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can, sir. Thank you so much. We do need to get this thing kicked off, though, so just stay with me if you would. Well, we first go to Mark Carney at this Liberal rally in St. John's as the election kicks off here for Canada. Canuckastanians going to the polls. Let's let this music die off so that we don't get a copyright strike, and then we'll pick up Carney's first big speech, his first big rally heading into this election. Here we go.
Merci, Joanne. Oh, God.
You're going to go to Poilievre shortly, too.
There is no better place to start the most consequential election in our history than right here, right now. And I want to thank at the start the amazing group of members of Parliament and ministers who serve this great province and this great country who are here tonight. Goody, Seamus O'Regan, Yvonne, her book's out. Yvonne's book is just out. Don. And I want to thank this amazing group standing behind me, supporting me. Don Bradshaw, Philip Earle, Paul Connors, and Tom Osborne here tonight. Oh, come on up. You can have the microphone if you're going to say that. Listen, I want to say one other thing just before I really get going. I want to acknowledge the harvesters here tonight outside came to make their voice heard. And I want to underscore, like the minister, I'm here to listen. And I understand the importance of making decisions closer to the wharf. And one of the charges our new government, my new government, has given to the Minister of Fisheries is to look at the structure of the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. And how do we get it closer? Because I know the harvesters, and we're all here for sustainable fishery and sustainable livelihoods, and we're going to make sure that happens. So we'll continue that dialogue. Now, I have a question. Who's ready? Who's ready? Who is ready? Who is ready to stand up for Canada with me? Who is ready to win the most consequential election of our lifetimes. Not all. You know, just 2 months ago, in a rink in Edmonton, a rink where I learned to play hockey, I put my hand up to run for leader of the Liberal Party. And I did it because I knew that we needed big change. Big change in here in Canada, big change to fix our economy, big change to fight Donald Trump's tariffs. More on that in a moment. That won't be the last time I mention Donald Trump tonight. Big change to help all Canadians get ahead. And since then, in meeting Canadians from coast to coast to coast, I've seen just how much they do want change. People want change. Les gens veulent du changement parce qu'ils s'inquiètent. Ils s'inquiètent du coût de la vie et de la crise de logement. Ils s'inquiètent pour les jeunes.
Well, while he
Ils
speaks
s'inquiètent
French,
de
Brian,
l'avenir
and
du
since you're
Canada
here,
face aux menaces de Trump
what do you think?
et un monde plus divisé et dangereux.
It,
What Canadians
it's a
want
decent
is
speech,
want
I guess.
change, but not
Team
just
Canada.
any type
Yeah.
of change. They want
Here we go, English again.
positive change, new positive leadership that helps us build together. They want leadership that stands up for Canada. That's right. And you know what? Part of standing up for Canada, part of making Canada strong, starts with making life affordable again. And that's why this morning I announced that a new Liberal government will deliver a middle-class tax cut that will save families up to $825 a year. And that's why Joanne and I in the cabinet, our first week, we announced for younger Canadians and those buying a home for the first time, we're going to eliminate the GST. We're going to eliminate the GST on new home buyers. That can save up to $50,000 a year. You know what? Just yesterday, we've been busy. We've been busy in Ottawa, I tell you. It's a change. The city, it's a city that doesn't wake up. You've heard of the city doesn't sleep. Ottawa, a city doesn't wake up. But we woke up Ottawa because what we've also done is we've expanded free dental care for the 5 million Canadians aged 18 to 64 who can't afford it. I'll tell you something. Already, with the Liberal dental care plan, 1.8 million Canadians have accessed it. That's people over 65 and under 18. Pierre Poilievre thinks they don't exist. Thinks they don't exist. 1.8 million people. Now he thinks 5 million people don't exist because he doesn't care. He doesn't care. We, on our first day, eliminated the tax on carbon for people, for small businesses, and for farmers. And we did that to end the division it was creating. And you know what else? We reversed that increase in the capital gains tax because we believe that builders and fishers and those who take risks should be rewarded when they succeed. They're the ones building our country. So, in just 9 days, our new government has done more than Pierre Poilievre could imagine in his lifetime in politics. And it's a long lifetime in politics. Of course, I may be giving him too much credit because I say he could imagine if he had some imagination and didn't just mimic Donald Trump. Alors, cette semaine, nous avons conclu un nouvel accord portant sur la défense nationale avec l'Australie.
Interesting too, Brian, that as he talks about Trump, Danielle Smith causing some real waves with some of the things she's been saying about Trump
nos relations
and
en matière
Poilievre
de
in an interview she did with
avec la
Breitbart.
France et le Royaume-Uni.
Are you familiar with that? Did you hear about it? I'm going to play the clip shortly.
I really haven't been following too closely. I've been
Et nous avons lancé des discussions
focused on some other things at the moment.
Yeah, well, we're going to get to your story too because it's very important.
Pour aider davantage nos entreprises. With the premiers on Friday, and I want to salute Premier Andrew Fury for his service to this province and to this country. But with Premier Fury and all the premiers, amazingly, all the premiers, we agreed to eliminate barriers to trade and labor mobility inside our great country. You think of all the building people from Newfoundland have done across this country. Yeah. And all the hassles you've had to put up to do so. No more. No more. We're going to push. Together, we're going to push to have one Canadian economy by Canada Day. And I'm not finished, because in those 9 days, we also took measures to protect our workers during this tariff battle, using all the proceeds from our retaliatory tariffs against the Americans for workers. Pierre Poilievre is going to take all that money, put it in his pocket, cut taxes for the rich. We're going to protect our workers. We're unlocking. I'm not finished. Hope everyone's comfortable because I got a long list. We are unlocking major infrastructure projects, and we're going to get them moving rapidly, including in conventional energy, oil and gas, in clean energy, in critical minerals. You think about this great province, oil and gas. You think about the hydrogen potential. You think about the critical minerals. You think about new trade corridors with, this would be a change, with reliable trading partners. And we've created new supports for our farmers and businesses during this trade war. We took all of these actions and more, and we did that to create the foundation for a stronger Canada. Now, we need that. We should be doing it anyways, but we need a stronger foundation, because let's be frank, we are facing the most serious crisis of our lifetime because of Donald Trump's unjustified tariffs and his threats to our sovereignty. President Trump, time and again, claims that Canada isn't a real country. When Joey Smallwood chose Canada, he chose a great country. And he made it so much better, and you made it so much better. Donald Trump wants to break us so America can own us. We will not let that happen. We are over the shock of that betrayal, and it is a betrayal. But we should never forget the lessons. We have to look out for ourselves, and we have to look out for each other. Nous savons que nous devons veiller les unes sur les autres. Nous ne pouvons pas contrôler le président américain, mais nous pouvons contrôler notre destin. Nous sommes maîtres chez nous. Now, Trump has put tariffs on our goods, on our resources, and he's threatening more. He's put tariffs on what we build, on what we sell, on what we need to put food on the table, to put roofs over our heads. Now, Canada's strong response is already having an impact. And I'm proud of the united front of workers, labor, businesses, and governments of all levels, including the provinces. And let me be clear, as your Prime Minister, with these people standing behind me, every dollar we collect will go back to workers and protect you. And let me also be clear. Also be clear, if there's any doubt south of the border, we didn't ask for this fight. But Canadians are always ready when someone else drops the gloves. And in this trade war, I didn't even get to the end. See, that's how ready we are. In this trade war, just like in hockey, we will win. So, by accident or design, everything in my life has prepared me for this moment. You know, I grew up with values that I learned in the classroom, at the kitchen table, and on the ice. My parents were teachers who stressed the importance of hard work, of community, and tolerance. My coaches taught me the importance of ambition and humility. It's a uniquely Canadian combination, ambition and humility. These are good values. These are the values of Alberta. They're the values of Newfoundland and Labrador. They're the values that I took with me when I went away to university. I kept them close when I was managing crises here in Canada and around the world. I remembered those values whenever I worked to build stronger economies. And now I'm drawing on them with a great Liberal team to build Canada strong. And what we need, because this is such a moment, we need new ideas, we need new leadership, we need a focus, and we need action. We've taken a lot of action in the last 9 days, but there is so much more to do, and we need to do it in a short time to secure Canada. So much more to do to invest in Canada, to build Canada, to unite Canada. We will have to do things as a country that we haven't imagined before at speeds we didn't think possible. And that's why I and this incredible team of Liberal Newfoundlanders and Labradorians are asking for your support. We need it. The stakes could not be higher. But you know what? The stakes are high, but the opportunities couldn't be greater. Pierre Poilievre doesn't get any of this. Because, and I've seen this type before around the world, he is this type of lifelong politician who worships at the altar of the free market, despite never actually having worked in the private sector, never had to make a payroll. His reflex is always to cut and destroy. And while President Trump's plan is to divide and conquer, Pierre Poilievre's plan is to divide and be conquered. His negative slogans aren't solutions. His anger isn't action. His division isn't strength, because we know negativity isn't going to win a trade war. Negativity won't pay the rent or the mortgage. Negativity won't bring down the price of groceries. Negativity won't make Canada strong. And we've seen what's happened in the States. Nous avons vu où la négativité et la division ont mené les États-Unis. Nous sommes plus forts comme nous sommes unis. Les Américains vont s'affaiblir parce qu'ils ne le sont plus. The Americans are getting weaker because they are not unified. Alors, unissons-nous en cette période de crise. This is no time for divisive, angry politics. We're going to win this battle if we choose to be strong. Canada strong. Choisissons fort. Un Canada fort. It's our strength that the Americans want. They want our resources. They want our water. They want our land. They want our country. Never. They can't have it. They can't have it. They don't. Vive le Canada, exactement. Vive le Canada. You know, you think about how different we are. Canada is a mosaic. All the different identities here. America is a melting pot. In the United States, healthcare is a big business. In Canada, it is a right. Aux États-Unis, on ne reconnaît pas les différences. On ne reconnaît pas les peuples autochtones. Et il n'y aura jamais de droit pour la langue française. Les États-Unis ne sont pas le Canada. Et le Canada n'en fera jamais partie. Jamais. Canada will never, ever be part of America in any way, shape, or form. So what do we do? Elbows up. Elbows up, action up. Now, over the years, I've learned a few things about how to manage crises. And the important thing when you're in a crisis is to know the difference between what you can change and what you can't. We can't change Donald Trump. And a person who worships Donald Trump, like Pierre Poilievre, will kneel down before him, not stand up to him. Someone who believes Canada's broken won't put Canada first. And you don't just have to take my word for it. As Premier Smith of Alberta said, this is a quote, and I quote, Pierre Poilievre would be very much in sync with the president. With Pierre Poilievre, everything would be on the table. And that's not what Canada needs. That's not what Canada wants. Pierre Poilievre, c'est la mauvaise personne au pire moment. He's the worst person at the worst time. What can we control? What can we control? We can control our economic destiny. We can do that by putting more money in your pockets. We can do that by making the government spend less so Canadians can invest more. We can do that by making big polluters pay instead of hardworking Canadians. We can do that by building millions of homes. We can do it by making Canada into an energy superpower and creating new trade corridors with reliable power. We can do that. We can do that by forging one Canadian economy, not 13. Now, before I finish, I just want to say a few words about why I'm a Liberal. You know, I got into this because I knew we had to change to build that strong economy and stand up to Trump. And I'm passionate about building a strong economy because that provides good, higher-paying jobs today and brighter futures for our children tomorrow. But the fundamental reason why I care about the economy and Liberals care about the economy is because I and we care about people. And in Canada, Canadians care about everyone. So I'm fighting for a strong economy because I know we can't redistribute what we don't have. I'm fighting for a strong economy because I'm fighting for good Canadian health care. I'm fighting for good Canadian social programs like the Canada Pension Plan for our seniors and daycare for our busy families who are working hard. No daycare with Pierre Poilievre. I am fighting for a strong Canadian economy so we can invest today in the jobs of the future and create a more sustainable world for our children and grandchildren. This is a moment of enormous consequence for our nation. And Canadians have a big choice to make in 37 days. I'm standing before you tonight because Canada has given me everything. My family, my education, my values. And in return, I'm ready to give everything to Canada. So I ask you to do what you can to send 7 Newfoundland and Labrador Liberals to join me in Ottawa. Let's build Canada strong. Merci beaucoup. Thank you. Et vive le Canada.
And carry on.
All right. Let's dump out of that. So,
what are your impressions of that kind of inaugural campaign speech?
I'm scared because I think the country is in a lot of trouble, and I think everybody is really divided. It's hard to tell who the good guys are from the bad guys. You wonder what people's motivations are. We're listening to politicians make a lot of promises, across the board. And I don't know if we can believe anything that anybody is saying. I don't know if they are, genuinely trying to help, but maybe can't deliver in the end, or won't, or if they're lying. I don't know, Brian. I'm just really worried about the country, and I want to save it in the worst way. And I sit in this chair every night right now, and I try to just bring people as much factual information as I can to get people closer to the truth. And then we listen to these speeches, and I see a lot of lying going on in social media, influencer streams, and I'm just worried about everything.
I've heard those words before, decades ago. Together, the land is strong. We'll bring you a good economy. We'll bring you jobs. This and that. This has been going on since 1937. So domestically, the thoughts are similar. He's saying all the right things, but right now my main concern is Trump.
Yes.
What is the maximum? I could even trust this to statistics. What's the maximum number of actions Canada can absorb from Trump, and the minimum number of actions Canada will take against the United States? Because we've got 4 years of Trump to live through.
It's a long haul.
Maybe the first would be 20 months during the midterms.
And it's getting weirder. I don't know if you've seen this. It just came to my attention earlier this afternoon. I guess it's been sort of circulating out there for the past day and a half or so, but it's just coming to the surface. King Charles is offering Donald Trump and the United States Commonwealth membership, and Trump is entertaining that. It's weird. Like, look at this. I'll show you this headline. I don't know what the hell to make of this, Brian, especially coming down right now. Here's Politico. Look, Trump, I love King Charles, he says. Like, what is like honestly, what is going on? The U.S. president is interested in joining the club of former British colonies if invited by the king, and I guess the king is signaling that he might actually invite the U.S. to join the Commonwealth. And Trump is like, I think that's a great idea. He says, quote, I love King Charles. He wrote this on a post on Truth Social, sharing an article from The Sun stating that King Charles wants to offer the U.S. an associate membership in the British Commonwealth. So, of course, that's sending shockwaves through, I would say, conservative or populist circles, right? Isn't that weird?
Yeah, well, but Charles doesn't really run the British government.
Right.
Your
You know, I
parliament.
just the whole thing. I'm like somebody. You know what? I saw a headline. Then I went to Infowars. Alex Jones is making a big deal out of it over there, and I'm like, this is not going to happen. This is just strange. It's weird. Everything's getting weirder by the day. You layer that into the whole 51st state controversy, all that rhetoric, and that makes everything even weirder. Trump
Yeah.
aligning more with Putin than Europe.
Every day I get gobsmacked by something or other.
It
Let's
is
redraw.
crazy.
Let's redraw the border of Canada. Let's move it up 300 miles.
Yeah, it
That's
isn't.
like-
Yeah, I just, 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 I don't even know what to say. But let's just let it play out, I guess. And people are like, well, why would he join the Commonwealth? Because the royal family is bogged down in Epstein Island controversy. You know, it's just all this stuff. Like, it's just bizarre. It's weird. But you know what we should do? We're going to go to this rally with Pierre Poilievre shortly. And maybe what we can do is I'll take a little break, come back, and then we'll get into the real reason you're here tonight, because we have an important story that Brian wants to share with us. And are you ready to roll
Sure.
this thing
I
out?
wonder if we could run one of those clips that I sent you.
Where did you send me the clips?
Text. I texted them to you.
Okay, I'll see if I can get those lined up while we look at this. Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back.
Greetings, brave mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, let's bring Brian back in here, and we'll start talking about this story. We're going to go to this rally with Pierre Poilievre, so stick around for that, because we will be going to that live, and he's in, I think it's in North York, Ontario tonight, but we'll get to that. But Brian, you have a personal account. It's a
Personal story.
yeah, a personal story and a continuation of a story we told people about first here. Boy, this
10 months
was 10 months ago. Yeah, back
Yeah,
in June.
about 10 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a shocker for me. The incident in question from 10 months ago, and then the one on this Friday morning.
Okay, so let's go back 10 months first of all before we tell you what happened here. And this is a story about a hero that passed away, but let's give people the backstory first. Kingston, Ontario, 10 months ago, June of last year, around June 5th, I believe, And
It
this
it was
involved
actually late May,
late May. Okay.
late May.
And
And my friend and compatriot and upstairs neighbor, Bruce Larrabee, was doing some yard work outside, and he heard a cry from the second story of the building across the way. Young little 4-year-old boy was crying out the window, asking for help, 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 help. A lot of people were just walking by, but not Bruce. He heard the cries of this little boy. He went in, he talked to the superintendent. They phoned the police. They came. He got into the apartment number 7, this bigger apartment building right across from where we live. And they found this 4-year-old boy and an 8-month-old baby who had died, literally starved and dehydrated to death. Well, the mother, let's call her Jane Doe, partied with her boyfriend 30 miles west in Napanee and left both kids there unattended for almost a week before Bruce heard the cries for help. That was the incident 10 months ago. The shocking incident was that Bruce's wife, Darlene, just on Friday morning around 11 o'clock in the morning, came downstairs where I live. They're up on the top floor, pleading with me to go upstairs to talk to Bruce. He fell, apparently, and he was still asleep and wouldn't get up. Would I go upstairs to help him wake up? Right away, I knew something was strange, really strange. I called the landlord who lives just north of town. He came over within 15 or 20 minutes, entered the apartment, found Bruce had passed away about 2 days before. It's like a scaled down version of the Gene Hackman incident. It's like it's a horrible thing. This is someone who had saved a little boy 10 months ago, and now this happens. It's been really, really shocking to me to cope with it. And he's been a neighbor for 12 years, a really nice guy. We've had he could be a cantankerous son of a bitch at times, but he had a big heart, and that was best personified by what happened 10 months ago.
okay, so let's show people a little bit of what it was like in Kingston when this investigation was ongoing, and Bruce Larrabee, as part of the story, making really national headlines Canada-wide, I think even into the U.S. because of the the nature of the crime and the tragedy, and media managed to get access to Bruce, and this is what he had to say. This is one of the global news clips of that time, but as you can see, all the national media there. You were there as well, Brian, watching this all unfold and keeping us up to date over here. And this was what it was like.
Michael told one of the detectives and someone else in the hospital that Mummy didn't plan on coming back.
Bruce Larrabee.
So I don't know exactly what the clip means, but as you can see, these are images of the neighborhood. Of course, you live there, Brian. It's right there.
Right across the street. He's basically describing the incident in question, but I'd like to give a face to the name.
Yes.
Bruce was not a public personality. He was not a celebrity, but what he did was extraordinary.
Right. And here's another clip from Bruce from this piece.
Shortly after I said that, the super went to the door and unlocked the door and found the baby dead.
That's when the police arrived on scene.
And that, of course, is a global news report. But you were there. I mean, you saw all of this happening. Tell us what was going on in the neighborhood when the incident first happened 10 months ago.
Oh, A lot of police cars, ambulances, paramedics. They were there for the 3 or 4 days in their entirety. Just investigators going in and out, forensics people, and and as far as I know, even to this day, that particular apartment is still sealed.
So let me get this straight. So
The
you have
trial has yet to happen.
so you had a 32-year-old woman. We're not naming her. 2 children in the apartment at
Yes.
the time. One of the children taken to hospital and died afterward.
No,
was
the 4-year-old
found
little
died.
boy, he survived. The baby, the month-old baby died.
Right. Okay. And then Bruce saw the
The
4-year-old
4-year-old,
in a window
yeah.
and just seemed to be asking for help, or he could see he was in distress, and then he alerted people. And if it wasn't for Bruce,
Yeah.
the 4-year-old would have possibly passed away as well, probably alive today because of Bruce.
And because of what he did, I felt it deserved recognition. So I approached our Mayor Patterson, and Councillor Ridge,
Uh-huh.
and I had a proclamation through City Hall given to Bruce and the key to the city. And
And indeed,
he
here he
deserved
is.
it.
And there's Bruce. He was recognized by municipal council, by the community, because of you going forward. And he was given, as you say, what, the key to the city and
And a proclamation,
okay.
like
And
a
here,
document.
right, I can show you the proclamation as well. There it is there. And
Yeah.
the key to the city. So that was a great honor for him and well deserved. So tell us a little bit more about Bruce. What was he like?
He worked in the trades when he was younger. He did a lot of self-employed work around the neighborhood. So, snow removal in the winter and doing a lot of yard work in the summer. So he was always out and about. Sometimes he was maybe a little bit too nosy into people's lives, but that's what saved this young boy. I like Bruce. We had a few dust ups, but as I said, he's a real Canadian.
And then the nature of his death, the circumstances surrounding his death seem kind of strange as well, because his wife came down and asked you to go up to check on him because she thought he was sleeping, but he'd
Yeah,
been there for 2 days and
Yeah.
it had passed away 2 days prior.
I presume so. That's still under investigation. But when I phoned the landlord and he came in, Bruce was kind of blue and purplish, and he'd obviously passed. But according to his wife, he had collapsed 2 days earlier and was still laying in the same place in the same posture beside the bed. So I didn't really want to go in and remember Bruce that way. Just it was a little too close.
Right. So again, just to kind of clarify, 32-year-old woman took off to go to a casino or something with her boyfriend.
Yeah, to a nearby town,
Left her 2 kids there unattended for 4 days.
Probably about 6 days.
6 days unattended, 4-year-old and a baby, and then Bruce, because of his actions, probably saved the life of the 4-year-old, and the baby passed away. The woman facing criminal charges as a result of this, arrested, facing charges including failing to provide necessities of life and criminal negligence causing death. I believe that's still winding its way through the justice system. Obviously, she's not, I don't think she's out on the streets tonight.
He's still remanded to a place called Monteith up in northern Ontario. So
Yeah, and obviously because we're dealing with a young victim, a 4-year-old who is still alive. We need to protect the 4-year-old's identity. We're not releasing names here, but this has had a great impact on the community, all of the people in your neighborhood. Tell us about that. How are people reacting and coping with this in your community?
Well, the incident from last May, everyone was shocked. Everyone was totally shocked. The building across the street, small building I'm in, everyone in the whole neighborhood. It's just a horrible manner in which this young woman left her kids. How can anyone with any kind of heart do that? But of course, she doesn't have any heart and soul.
Apparently.
Not at all. You know.
Something seriously wrong. Well, and I guess the main reason you wanted to come on tonight was not just to tell us the story, but to, I guess, pay tribute to your neighbor and someone who was a friend and a local hero.
Yeah, it's a bit of a bookend to a ghoulish story from last summer that has an even more ghoulish ending. I'll miss Bruce.
Yeah, and the community has lost someone important, and it shows that everyone has something to contribute as long as we're doing positive things. So this is, I guess, a fitting farewell and a tribute and a way to remember someone who was very important in your part of Canada.
Somebody who did something important, really important. Maybe in later life, this little boy, maybe his relative, who's now the guardian, will maybe tell him the story of, the man who saved his life.
Yes. Well, Brian, thank you so much for bringing us the story of Bruce Larrabee here tonight. I appreciate it, and it is important. Is there anything else you'd like to add or think that we might be missing with regard to this tonight?
No, there isn't. It's still an ongoing investigation, and the police have been by today, talking to Darlene upstairs, and there's a lot of things going on, what to do with all the animals, the 3 dogs, the iguana, the 5 kitty cats.
I see. All right. And well, with that, we will wrap this portion of the program up. I'll let you go, Brian. Thank you so much for bringing this to us tonight. And folks, I will be back on the other side of this. We'll be going live to the Pierre Poilievre Conservative rally momentarily.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
Okay, so we will be going out to that rally with Pierre Poilievre as the Canadian election 2025 kicks off, but I'm going to show you what Jagmeet Singh was up to today, the leader of the NDP. Let me share this with you. Instead of doing like a campaign rally thing earlier today, this was Jagmeet Singh on the streets of Montreal putting up signs.
Pour les règles.
Haven't heard too much from
les règles.
Jagmeet Singh in the last week or so. And it's interesting, the election called today, yet the Liberals really only have about 160 candidates out of 300 and I think 43 or 344. I have to check the total number of ridings that we're going to have this time around, increasing from 338. But Liberals only have about 150 candidates lined up and running out of time to get everything organized. Conservatives have only about 250, so they still have a lot of work to do. And I have to check to see how many seats the NDP, how many ridings they have candidates. So this is what he was doing. This is the NDP leader tonight in Montreal. So let me see, just checking in. They're warming up the crowd for Pierre Poilievre. A few preliminary speakers up there. I'm monitoring everything. Let's go. We'll take you live and just show you what's going on at the Poilievre rally. Let me bring it up on the screen for you. He's not on stage yet. And this is in North York, Ontario, in the GTA. There, that's what it looks like. Yeah. Interesting how they set his rallies up. They like to put him on that stage, like that riser in the center of the room, and they surround him. You know, more commonly you have the speaker at the front of the room, but they keep coming back to this format. I'm not sure why, but it seems to work for him. And then he walks around, circles, and engages with the crowd. And that looks like what they'll be doing here again tonight. Just a different approach. So we're keeping an eye on that. Now, Danielle Smith, Premier of Alberta, making waves, making headlines, controversial headlines. She did an interview with Breitbart, conservative, some would say right-wing, right-leaning, some would others say extremist, whatever your views are on it, blah, whatever, just fine. Breitbart saying, and she, in this clip, in this Breitbart interview, she confirms that she asked the U.S. administration to, quote, put things on pause with regard to the trade war. And this, I think, happened when she was down at that meeting with Trump at Mar-a-Lago, where she went with Kevin O'Leary. And she, I guess, asked that the tariff war be put on pause to help Pierre Poilievre get elected as prime minister, because, as we heard Mark Carney say, she believes that Poilievre aligns with Trump on many issues, and I think she uses these words, the quote new direction of America. But I'll bring up the clip so you can hear it here tonight. This is the one that's causing the controversy. She also held a rally over the past day saying that Albertans have had enough. And she basically came out and endorsed Pierre Poilievre, saying that he's what Canada needs right now, instead of all the policies that have really upset people out in Alberta, coming from first the Trudeau Liberals, and now, you know, people on the Conservative side say that Carney will just offer up 4 more years, or a continuation of, well, maybe not 4 more years, but a continuation of the Trudeau Liberal policies. It'll just be more of the same. Here's the interview clip from Breitbart.
President Trump on these things, and it wouldn't be as tumultuous as what we're seeing right now. Is that something that you think is likely here? Are the Canadian people ready to go back the other way here and go away from the Liberal side that we've seen under Trudeau and whoever replaces him?
Before the tariff war, I would say yes. I mean, Pierre Poilievre is the name of the Conservative Party leader, and he was miles ahead of Justin Trudeau. But because of the what we see as unjust and unfair tariffs, it's actually caused an increase in the support for the Liberals. And so that's what I fear, is that the longer this dispute goes on, politicians posture, and it seems to be benefiting the Liberals right now. So I would hope that we could put things on pause. This is what I've told administration officials. Let's just put things on pause so we can get through an election. Let's have the best person at the table make the argument for how they would deal with it. And I think that's Pierre Poilievre. And I do agree with you that if we do have Pierre as our prime minister, then I think that there's a number of things that we could do together. Pierre believes in development. He believes in low-cost energy. He believes that we need to have low taxes. Doesn't believe in any of the woke stuff that we've seen taking over our politics for the last 5 years. So I would think that there's probably still always going to be areas that are skirmishes or disputes about particular industries when it comes to the border. But I would say, on balance, the perspective that Pierre would bring would be very much in sync with, I think, where the new direction in America. And I think we'd have a really great relationship for the period of time they're both in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's making people take a second look at everything going on. Some people saying that it's inappropriate for Smith to have done that, to have gone down there and asked for a pause, and it shows that we have a lot of foreign meddling, foreign influence in the Canadian political process right now. And of course, a lot of people are saying, name the names of all the Chinese influenced or bought and paid for corrupt Canadian politicians. And I've been saying it for quite a while. We have way too much U.S. influence in our politics up here right now. So much so that the entire country is facing an existential threat from the man in the White House. It's not appropriate. He really does need to dial it all back, in my opinion. This is ridiculous. And I'm not really pointing my finger so much at Daniel Smith. I'm pointing it straight at Donald Trump and the political forces around him. It's not appropriate. It's beyond that. It's unethical. I think some of what Trump is doing, you could even deem it to be illegal under international law, certainly under Canadian law. I think a lot of what is going on could be deemed to be illegal because of the foreign influence, interference that we are experiencing, seeing in our politics up here. But the federal government can't really say too much or do too much about it, because just coming out too hard against it would be viewed by some people as being overly defensive, or maybe even too inflammatory, upsetting maybe Trump too much. You don't want to get Godzilla too upset lest Godzilla come up here and stomp on us, although it looks like we're getting stomped on pretty good right now. That being said, I am optimistic that we're going to be able to stand up to this, withstand it. I think we're resilient as a country, more resilient than a lot of people give us credit for. It isn't so much about, Mark Carney stood up there and said, we will win, elbows up. But it isn't so much about winning the trade war by crushing the United States. It's about getting Donald Trump to stop this, just stop doing this, to have those tariffs rolled back, to just end the trade war and end the lying. Because a lot of I talked about this last night again, the numbers that he keeps throwing out there on the trade deficit, on how much they subsidize Canada, which they don't, how we rip off the United States, and it's a lie. All of these things, it's spreading out into all kinds of other social media streams. The crap that Trump keeps spewing, it's being repeated. And if you tell a lie often enough, it doesn't take long for people to start believing it. And a lot of people are. But our goal in Canada, and I think we're getting this from all the political leaders who are on board with the Team Canada approach, the real goal is not to hurt the United States or crush the U.S. economy. It's just to hurt them enough in key areas like Tennessee whiskey, right? To then have the people affected by that put pressure on Trump and say, hey, this isn't right. Or the tourism industry, where we've seen massive fall off in the number of people heading into the U.S. and Canadians heading into the U.S. for vacations. Right now, during March break, we're seeing Canadians, retirees, selling retirement properties in places like Florida. A lot of people who traditionally just fly south, the snowbirds, a lot of people didn't go. I just spoke to a friend who didn't go to the United States this year, took off to Mexico instead. So this is hurting the U.S. economy in a variety of ways. Canada's going to suffer too. No question about that. But again, I did see a live streamer, big social media influencer here in Canada, who very critical of the government, shall we say. This person shall remain nameless tonight, but saying, hey, if the Canadian government is imposing tariffs, which are essentially a tax on Canadians, tariffs on U.S. goods coming in, will Canadians be given a rebate check? Well, yeah, in a manner of speaking, yes, because you did hear Carney, and I've heard premiers echo this as well. The revenue generated from the tariffs on the Canadian side, we're told, and I hope these politicians keep their promise, it's supposed to be injected back into the economy to benefit workers, to strengthen Canada's position as we head into this this trade war. Now, I think this is Pierre Poilievre's wife on the stage. Let's pick this up and let's listen to what she has to say. She's speaking French. We'll wait till she goes to English. Hang on just a moment. Here we go.
Maintenant le temps. Il est venu le temps où nous devons choisir. Si nous voulons donner un 4e mandat au parti qui nous a mis dans une situation économique vulnérable face aux menaces de Donald Trump, ou si nous voulons choisir le changement pour mettre le Canada d'abord. Here we are, Canada. It is now time where we must decide whether we're going to choose a party that is asking for a 4th mandate, and that put us in a weak economic position in face of the threats from Donald Trump, or if we want change to put Canada first. It is a real pleasure for me to be here tonight. C'est vraiment un plaisir pour moi d'être ici ce soir. It is hard to believe, coming all the way from Venezuela, immigrating here in 1995 with my family. My father, who is present here tonight, mi papá presente aquí, mon père. You're gonna come here for 2 seconds because everybody is gonna have to wish my father happy birthday. C'est la fête de mon père, es el cumpleaños de mi papá, so it is a great coincidence that we begin this battle on my father's birthday. Feliz cumpleaños, papá. you know, my husband and I, we share the same values, but our backgrounds are a little bit different. As I said, I was born in Caracas, Venezuela, and my family migrated here in 1995. When we came here, my family had to work really hard. My father had 3 jobs at some point just so that we can make ends meet. Later on in life wasn't necessarily any easier. By the time that I was 17, I had moved out and had become financially independent. By the time that I was 19, I had moved to Ottawa. I put myself through university with a student loan. I worked really hard, eventually got a job in the Senate, where I met my husband. And my husband, he was born in Calgary, and he was adopted by 2 school teachers. His family had to work really hard and live paycheck to paycheck as well. My husband worked really hard. Eventually, he also made it to Ottawa. Thank God, because that's where we met. So, you know, my husband has spent most of his adult life right here in Canada fighting for all of you. And yes, he spent most of his adult life here, putting Canada first. And that is not something that the opposition should look down on. Because, you know, leadership is born from true love for our country, from true patriotism. Leadership is not born from fancy degrees, fancy titles. Leadership is not born from the boardroom of the elite. So this journey for us began about 3 years ago, when my husband started traveling from coast to coast to coast to listen to everyday Canadian, because what we need is leadership and a government that's going to be for the people and by the people. So that has been my husband's life story, here in Canada, fighting for Canadians. In contrast, we have a man who's asking for us to trust him that he can lead us, despite the fact that he has not spent the last decade here in Canada, despite the fact that he has been promoting policies that goes against Canada's interests, bringing jobs and investment abroad rather than growing our economy here. You know, when all of the crazy spending happened under the Liberal government, my husband was right there in the Finance Committee, actually going toe-to-toe against the man who's asking for us to trust him today. And my husband was the first one, 3 years ago, warning that all of this money printing was going to cause inflation. Meanwhile, others looked down condescendingly on him, saying that the opposite would happen. How did that fancy degree work out for that person? That one, but I'm referring to the other one too. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very proud of standing by my husband's side and having my family entirely here standing by my husband's side, because we're very proud of sharing him with you all. So, it is my real pleasure to introduce to you my husband and the next Prime Minister of Canada!
Okay, we're going to pull the audio down so we don't get a copyright strike on the music. And, yeah, she's pretty passionate. Anna Poilievre, Pierre Poilievre's wife, introducing her husband, I guess not just to the crowd here, but really to the country. A lot of people don't pay much attention to politics in this country until election time, and even then, it's hard to get people out to the polls. generally speaking, if we get 40% of people voting, that's usually sort of top end of participation. This time, though, I think we're going to see a record number of people coming out to vote because there is so much at stake. In fact, the very existence of the country is at stake. Yesterday, Danielle Smith making it very clear again that as far as she is concerned, and I think a lot of Albertans are concerned, if a Liberal government is re-elected, the country will likely face some sort of an existential threat because it may break up. That Alberta, you're going to have a big issue with separatists gaining more and more ground and steam out there, and maybe even on the Quebec side too. So the country's Donald Trump, what he's done is he's picked away at old scabs, opened old wounds, and Canada is already bleeding, not just because of the tariffs, but because of anger, resentment, bigotry, prejudice, old rivalries, and even wars being revisited. Not just trade issues, all these old historical issues that have been very divisive in Canada. I think we went through a fair period of time here where a lot of that stuff was kind of pushed back, but it was sitting on a back burner and still boiling at times and simmering. Now it's boiling over because of what Donald Trump has done. And that is really what has happened here in my view. He's exploiting these divisions.
Weak
Here we go.
and out-of-touch leadership. 3 terms, they drove up costs and crime. 3 terms, they sent our jobs south and pushed our economy under the American thumb. My little boy understands something the Liberals do not, which is that in baseball and in politics, it's 3 strikes and you're out. 3 strikes and you're out. Oui. Oui. On va mettre le Canada d'abord pour faire changement, mes amis. Ça me fait plaisir d'être ici aujourd'hui. Après 9 ans, après 10 ans, et 3 mandats des libéraux, ils ont augmenté le coût de la vie, augmenté la
And indeed,
criminalité,
I did check. It is
affaibli notre
343 ridings up for
économie
grabs this
et
time
expulsé des emplois
in this
pour nous
election,
rendre
up from
plus vulnérables envers les
338,
États-Unis.
which
Les
shows that the
libéraux
system can be changed
ne méritent pas un
and more weight
quatrième
could
mandat.
actually be
Ce
given over
qu'il nous
time
faut,
to
c'est un
Western Canada.
gouvernement conservateur qui va mettre
More
le
influence
Canada
in the end.
d'abord pour faire changement.
None of the parties are really ready for this election. Liberals 187.
Wow, it
I
is
checked.
great to be here. What an
Candidates
incredible
ready to go.
crowd.
Only 187 out of the 343.
Crowd. Look at this. Amazing. You're ready. Oh, bring it home. Bring it home. Bring it home. Bring it home. Bring it home.
Conservatives in better shape with 262 candidates
We are going to bring it
ready
home.
to go.
We are going to bring it home. My friends, I love you too. I love you too. I love you all. And I'm here with all of you to bring home the Canadian promise. The promise that Anna talked about. The incredible story of her family coming here from Venezuela, making the great sacrifices that her father did so that he could start a family. 6 people in a basement apartment in working class Montreal, sacrificing everything every day up at the crack of dawn to pick fruit in a farm field, because that's what it took to pay the rent and raise the family and be a father. And as a result, today, one son is a soldier, another son is a carpenter, and a daughter who is a nurse, and of course, the greatest woman in the world, Anaïda. That is the promise. That is the promise of Canada. And by the way, happy 39th birthday today, Louise. That's the promise the country made to me when I was born to a single mom who put me up for adoption to 2 school teachers. But those teachers taught me a lot of things. The most important was that in this country, if you worked hard, you could do anything you wanted. You get a beautiful house on a safe street, protected by courageous soldiers under a proud flag. That was the promise of Canada. But after 10 years of Liberals, that promise is broken. Everything costs more. Work, that's right, and we will fix it. We will bring it home. Incredible. Look at these incredible, hardworking, patriotic people. With people like these, we can overcome any obstacle. We can bring home the country we knew and loved. We can stand up to the Americans and put Canada first. This is the thing about our country. Our people are so much better than our government, aren't they? They deserve so much better than this. Après 10 ans des libéraux, ils ont nous affaiblis face aux Américains. Ils ont brisé le système d'immigration, bloqué nos ressources naturelles, doublé la dette nationale et le logement aussi. C'est la pire inflation depuis 40 ans. Et notre économie est affaiblie face aux Américains, ce qui menace notre souveraineté.
Looks like maybe on the 154 their numbers dropped. I'm not sure why.
Et relancer notre économie, il faut couper la bureaucratie, les taxes et les impôts, protéger nos frontières,
so getting conflicting reports there.
Exploiter nos ressources naturelles, assurer notre souveraineté et protéger notre pays contre les menaces de Donald Trump. Le Canada vaut la peine qu'on se batte pour lui, pour notre peuple, pour notre terre, pour notre chez nous. C'est ça, mettre le Canada d'abord pour faire changement.
But more candidates will be added by all these parties over the next week or so.
In order to try and get a 4th term, after driving up costs and crime, after destroying our economy and putting us under the thumb of the Americans, the Liberals are replacing. You got to give them points for creativity and audacity. They are replacing Justin Trudeau with his economic advisor and hand-picked successor. First of all, they are the same Liberals with the same ministers, the same MPs, the same advisors, the same policies, and even today making the same promises that they've been breaking for over 10 years. And who did they choose to bring in? Mr. Carney. We are going to have under the Liberals led by Trudeau or Carney, what we have is out-of-touch, weak leadership. And for Mr. Carney, someone who will not stand up for our country. Only 6 days after Donald Trump threatened tariffs on our country, Mark Carney decided to move his headquarters out of Canada to the United States, to New York, Trump's hometown. That's the kind of... He moved billions of dollars out of the country. He is in massive multi-million-dollar... He admits, by the way, he's in massive multi-million-dollar conflicts of interest, but he just won't tell us what they are. He knows all of his investments. He knows all of his investments, but he won't tell you, even though those interests run against Canada's interests, my friends. It is time to stop putting the Liberal Party first. It is time to put Canada first for a change. And we've got a bring-it-home economic plan to do it. And it starts with a big, patriotic, bold, and beautiful bring it home tax cut for all Canadians. We will start by axing the carbon tax. By the way, the tax still applies at the pump today, but the Liberals are going to pull a fast one on this as well. After 7 years of applying the carbon tax, they've decided that they're going to hide it at the gas station for 30 days before the election, while keeping the carbon tax law in place. Furthermore, Mr. Carney says that he will bring in an industrial carbon tax. Another area, this is an area where Mr. Carney agrees with Donald Trump. They both want to tax Canadian industry. Trump's tariffs and Carney's carbon tax will send hundreds of thousands of Canadian jobs moving south of the border. There will be a large sucking sound of Canadian jobs leaving the country if the Carney carbon tax on steel, on fertilizer, on aluminum, on basically every industrial product that we rely on for our modern civilization faces this new tax. That is why I have announced that not only will I repeal the carbon tax on consumers, oh, my little girl likes that one. Bravo, Valentina. But not only will I will get rid of the carbon tax on consumers, I will axe the entire carbon tax law for everyone, for everything, for good, for real, for a change. And then there's income tax. Have you seen this meme online? It's a little kid in the park with his dad. And the little munchkin is asking dad, what is an income tax for? And the child is looking heartbroken as the dad explains to him that an income tax form is the opposite of a high school report card. He says, the better you do, the more you get punished, right? You know, it's the income tax is the fine you pay for the crime of working hard. Well, now, I saw today that the Liberals, Mr. Carney, was literally repeating the election promise about income tax that Justin Trudeau and the Liberals broke 10 years ago. So, Carney had Trudeau's top his top strategic advisors, his spin doctors like Gerald Butts, who wrote the promise Trudeau made about income tax 10 years ago, promised that Trudeau would then go on to break, raising income tax by 80%, and now they have the audacity to make the very same promise. My friends, we cannot believe them on taxes or anything else, but what you can know is this. When I become Prime Minister, God willing, I will... Thank you. We will cut income tax so you bring home more of each dollar you earn and hard work actually pays off. And we will do it. We will cut government waste. We will cut bureaucracy, consultants, handouts to corporate insiders. We will cut wasteful foreign aid to dictators, terrorists, and multinational bureaucracies. And we will use the savings to bring down taxes and deficits in order to make your life more affordable. And we will bring homes that you can afford to buy. You deserve a home. We will axe the GST on homes to save you up to 50 grand. We will incentivize municipalities to speed up permits, free up land, and cut development charges to build the homes of the future. our Bring It Home economic plan is also about bringing home our jobs for a change. After 10 years of this Liberal government, in 3 terms, they've driven $500 billion out of our economy, most of it into the hands of the Americans. They did it by bringing in radical net zero environmental extremism. They blocked nearly $200 billion of resource projects. Mr. Carney was Justin Trudeau's economic advisor as the Liberals waged war on our energy and resource sector. But we will take action to reverse this attack on Canadian jobs and industry. I will repeal the Liberal No New Pipelines Law, C-69. We will... Common sense. Common sense. We're going to make common sense common again, and we're going to repeal the Liberal cap on Canadian energy. We will unleash all of our energy sector to produce more and bring it home. We will... I heard someone say, ring of fire over there. Ring of fire. Ring of fire. We have hundreds of billions of dollars of cobalt, copper, chromite, zinc, gold. That belongs to us. It's right beneath our feet. The Liberals have been blocking it for 5 years. I'm going to move to grant the permits within 6 months. Let's dig some mines. We're going to unleash, we're going to bring to the surface our 1,300 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. We have massive advantages. We have massive advantages in natural gas. You know, what is it? First of all, it takes 11 days to ship to Asia from Canada. It takes 20 days from the US Gulf Coast. Second of all, how do you liquefy gas? You cool it down. And what do we have in Canada? We have cold weather, which means it's 25% cheaper to liquefy gas in Canada than it is in the US Gulf Coast. We have clean hydroelectricity that can power that liquefaction. We have the incredible engineers who can do it. All we need is to grant permission, and that is what I will do. We will cool that gas to minus 161 degrees Celsius. We will ship it off to Asia. We're going to ship it off to Asia to sell it to them so they can break their dependence on dirty coal. We will ship it off to Europe to break European dependence on Putin. And break Canada's dependency on the Americans. We will turn dollars for dictators into paychecks for our people. We're going to bring in shovel. Bring it home. 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 I love you guys too, and I need you all, the young people here, I need you to go and study the trades. Get an apprenticeship. We got any trades workers here? Give it up for the trades workers. Boots, not suits. Right on. Because we're going to have these shovel-ready zones. These shovel-ready zones will draw a big circle around an area that's already pre-permitted and pre-approved to dig a mine, build a power station, a data center, a pipeline, you name it. We'll get it approved before they even apply for it. Lightning fast permitting will get the projects going. But we're going to need the workers to do it. Now, liberals turn their nose up at the trades. They look down at people who work with their hands. The smartest people. We don't need any of that elitism. What we need is the practical people who know how to dig stuff, move stuff, fix stuff, and build stuff, right? And that's why I announced we're going to cut bureaucracy, and we're going to put the money into restoring the $4,000 apprenticeship grants, and we're going to fund 350,000 more training spots for young apprenticeships and other people to learn how to build stuff. Boots, not suits. Boots, not suits. And you know what else we're going to do? We're going to bring home the Canadian promise for our brilliant immigrants. We have 20, while we help end the shortfall in our healthcare system, we have 20,000 immigrant doctors and 32,000 immigrant nurses who can't work because there's no way for them to prove their qualifications. We've had the red seal for the trades in this country for over 70 years. It's very simple. You have a merit-based national licensing system recognized by the provinces that allows our immigrant and Canadian-born but trained abroad doctors, nurses, architects, and others take a test, prove they're qualified, get a license, and get working, reducing our wait times in the hospital. We've got to get our Filipino nurses working in our hospitals. We want them and everyone to bring home powerful paychecks, but those paychecks have to go to safe neighborhoods again. So we will stop the crime. Crime, chaos, drugs, and disorder are overtaking our once safe streets. The catch and release liberal justice system turns loose the same violent offenders over and over again. Now listen to this. Here's the good news. Here's the good news. We don't have a lot of criminals. Here's the bad news. They're very productive. The same small group of criminals keep doing the same. You heard about the robbery in Ottawa. Did you guys hear about the robbery in Ottawa? It's terrible. Guy walks up to another fellow, pulls out a gun and says, "Give me all your money." And the man says, "Wait a second, do you know who I am? I'm Justin Trudeau." And the criminal then looked at him and said, "Well, in that case, give me all my money." Anyway, they have C-75, which grants automatic bail. It requires judges release offenders at the, quote, earliest opportunity under the, quote, least restrictive conditions. That's right out of the law. So then the judges release them again and again and again. In Vancouver, they had to arrest the same 40 offenders 6,000 times. In Penticton, get this, in Penticton, there is one guy, his name is Levi. He does so much crime that when he's out of prison, the crime rate for the entire city of Penticton goes up. One guy. The solution is very simple. It's very simple. Jail, not bail. We will bring in a law making repeat offenders ineligible for bail, probation, parole, or house arrest. It will be jail, not bail. Jail, not bail. And then, my friends, unfortunately, there's the terrible tragedy of drugs. Opioid overdoses have killed 50,000 people in the last decade, more than died fighting for Canada in the Second World War. These drugs are ravaging our communities, tearing apart families, and ending far too many promising lives. We know this happened because corrupt pharmaceutical companies lied to the medical system to push those opioids, claiming that they were neither addictive nor lethal. In fact, they were both. And now the Liberal government continues to give more money to those same corrupt pharmaceutical companies to hand out what they call a safe supply. In other words, giving more opioids to people who are addicted to opioids. They have effectively decriminalized hard drug possession. They are not prosecuting drug possession crimes. And meanwhile, those courageous people who struggle with addiction and want to get help cannot find assistance because there are no spaces for them. My friends, we will take the opposite of approach. After 10 years of this Liberal government, they do not deserve a fourth term. What we need is to fight drugs for a change. We will ban the drugs, stop giving out taxpayer-funded opioids. And we will invest in treatment and recovery to bring our loved ones home drug-free. My message to anyone out there who's struggling with addiction, I know it's hard, but have hope. Hang on. Help is on the way. And we will restore order at the border. Liberals have broken the border, allowing 99% of shipping containers to enter without any inspection at all. That's where the drugs, guns, and stolen cars are able to move. Our common sense plan will hire 2,000 more frontline CBSA officers. We will have surveillance towers and scanners that can look right inside those shipping containers. Very simple. If the manifest says that it's widgets in the container, but you look at the scanner and you see it's a beamer, well, then you pull the box aside, you roll the car out, you call the guy on the VIN, you say, were you planning to send your beamer to Turkey today? No, you weren't. You were planning to drive it to work, but it was missing from your driveway. Well, we've got it over at the Port of Montreal. You can pick it up. And then you go to the guy who booked the shipping container and you say, you're under arrest. Common sense. So, how are we going to pay for it? We have a dollar for dollar principle. We're going to get the money elsewhere. You know what we're going to do? We're going to cancel the multi-billion-dollar gun grab that targets licensed, law-abiding So here's the choice. Liberals want to go after Grandpa Joe's hunting rifle. Grandpa Joe's not the problem. He's not shooting up our streets. Here's the choice, my friends. Canada First conservatives want to protect Canadians from criminals. Liberals want to protect turkeys from hunters. You decide what makes most sense to you. But in order to have safety in our land, we need a strong, well-funded, respected, and supported Canadian Armed Forces again. Our Canada First plan starts with reinvesting and taking back control of our Arctic seas, skies, and soil from incursions by the Chinese and Russians. The Liberals could not even shoot down a Chinese spy balloon. I think it was actually a weather balloon, but they couldn't stop that either. Because they've cut back on our forces, disrespected, wasted money, and put the dollars into back office bureaucracy. Our common sense plan We'll cut back on foreign aid and put it into our military to support our troops. And that will include, we'll bring home our money, and we will use it to build the first post-Cold War base in the Arctic, CFB Iqaluit. We will have 4 massive Arctic icebreakers that are going to smash through all that ice, open up our waters, and declare our sovereignty over that territory. We will ensure we have new fighter jets, new Poseidon surveillance aircraft that can look down and intercept and interrupt the work of the Chinese and Russians with their submarines. We'll double the size of the first patrol of the Arctic Rangers, who are on the ground defending our sovereignty, and to bind our people together and renew the interest of our youth in the military and in our country. We will massively expand the Cadet Corps for our young people. And we will end the radical, borderless, globalist ideology of the Liberal government. Out of control, borderless policies like the Century Initiative, which seeks to, where Mr. Carney and Mr. Trudeau have taken the advice of Mr. Wiseman, which is to expand our population to 100 million people. More than doubling the population of the GTA when we're already in a housing crisis. We have seen, we love immigration. We always had the best immigration system in the world. We brought in people with skills who could fill jobs and succeed in our country in numbers that our housing, healthcare, and job market could absorb. But Liberals blew the system out of control, increasing population at 3 times the rate of our housing stock. They allowed fraud and abuse in the temporary foreign worker, international student, and in the other programs. Common sense conservatives will reject. Canada First conservatives will reject the Century Initiative. We will end the abuse in those programs, reject fraudulent claimants, deport criminals from this country. And we will cap immigration so that never again does our population grow faster than our housing, our health care, and our jobs. We will also honor our history, this cancel culture that has tried to lower our flag. We're going to put Terry Fox and the Famous Five and our veterans and other Canadian heroes back in the passport. We're going to unite our country around common values, common identity, common sense, and a common love for our country. We're going to put our statues back up, including the great John A. Macdonald. And we will build out the vision of an East-West nation that John A. brought to this country. He was the first to stand up and say, we are not Americans, we are Canadian. unite this great nation from east to west, binding it together with pipelines and free trade and open markets and common values and shared aspirations. We will be a nation that builds homes for its youth, makes goods for itself, trades from Canadian to Canadian, that honors its history, supports its heroes, uplifts its young people, and honors its old. We will go from being a nation of tax collectors and toll masters, bureaucrats and busybodies, grandees and gatekeepers, rulers and rule makers, to being a nation of explorers and entrepreneurs, artists and adventurers, warriors and workers, pioneers and patriots, united. What binds us together is the Canadian promise that anyone from anywhere can achieve anything, that hard work gets you a great life, in a beautiful house, on a safe street, protected by brave troops under a proud flag. To uphold that flag and its promise, we must work together, fight together, and win together. That is what it means to put Canada first. Let's bring it home!
Okay, we'll bring the audio down again so that we don't get any copyright strikes. So there's Poilievre. Difference in style. His wife front and center, supporting him. Also walking up on stage there, carrying his son. So really, I mean, it's optics, obviously. It's politics, it's showbiz. And just showing everybody that he's a family man. Trying to appeal to people, I think, with the idea of family values. And there it is again, kissing the baby like a good politician should. Even if it's your own. What a cute kid, though, I have to say. Look at the red cheeks. Why does that boy remind me of Dennis the Menace? Oh, cute girl too. Great looking family. I have to say that. And standing in the center of the room on that stage, on that riser, really not a stage so much, a riser, kind of in the center of the crowd, a different image. I think he's trying to portray himself as a family man, a man of the people. Striking difference between the Conservative Party today and when I think back to like the Conservative Party of the 1980s and Brian Mulroney, that era, when I remember Ed Broadbent of the New Democratic Party at that time coining the phrase the Bobbsey twins of Bay Street, referring to the Liberal leader and the Conservative leader at the time as being pretty much the same, both catering to big corporate interests, the rich. And now today, it's interesting to see that Pierre Poilievre leading the Conservatives, a party that is trying to portray itself as a party of the people, the working class, blue collar, middle class people. And also Trudeau in the last election promising to support and uplift, actually the last couple of elections, to support and improve the lives for the middle class. And I don't think he did that at all. And now we see Carney standing up there tonight, promising to unite the country. And what was the one, the main criticism I had for Justin Trudeau, and the main reason I've always said he wound up being the worst prime minister in Canadian history, is because he failed to unite the country when it needed most to be united. And really, failed to do that during the Freedom Convoy, when he really needed to reach out and find a way to address the concerns of people who showed up en masse to protest mandates and really just needed to come out and speak to people. Obviously, that didn't work out. And as a result, his approach, I think, came back to hurt not just him, but the entire country. And we're still paying a price for that today, because he took the bait, he fell into the trap of authoritarianism. He obviously saw what he thought was a threat to the government and responded with force. And that was not the right decision, not in my view. I understand why he did it, but it was the wrong decision, the wrong approach, and we're all paying for it today, because the country is more divided than ever, and I think those divisions are being exploited, used by Donald Trump and some very powerful people lurking in the shadows in the United States, influencing, interfering really in our politics as we embark on this 2025 federal election. Probably the most consequential election in maybe Canadian history. I have to think back, certainly in my lifetime, we've had very consequential elections in the past, and when I think back to, through my history, to the War of 1812, which people refer to from time to time these days because of the threat from Trump against Canada and the trade war. And make no mistake, it is a war. The threat to Canada from Trump. People refer to, it brings back memories of the War of 1812. And in many ways, we are replaying that, and the divisions, the old scabs being pulled off, and the blood that Trump smells in the water because of all of that. It's old blood, cold blood, that dates back even to that period and even before. Oh, it runs deep. And I don't know. I'm very worried about the country. I think we all are. Although some people would like to see it blown apart. Working every day to divide so that Donald Trump can actually conquer. But who are the good guys? Who are the bad guys? Really hard to tell. Are the intentions pure? Are the motivations pure? Is there corruption? Ulterior motives? Conflict of interest? So much going on. So many moving parts to this whole thing. I don't know. Let me just check the chat. I don't know what Lindy's referring to. He wasn't going to do that, Rick. I don't know what that is. Longuduri says we just need a referendum on the BS Confederation, whatever that means. I don't know. It's all the usual kinds of comments, some of which I don't quite understand because I don't know what the comments were before it, so I can't put it into proper context. Lindy says, great speech, I think referring to Poilievre. He is a great speaker, very, fluid, casual, has a great off-the-cuff style. He has the speech pretty much memorized. I don't think he's using a teleprompter. I could be wrong, but I don't see one there. I don't see him reading or even using cue cards or anything. So he knows his lines, and he's a great orator. And I think he's actually a better a better communicator than Carney. Carney seems a little stilted at times, and I don't know if you've noticed, but sometimes he has become a little bit edgy, a little bit snippy with reporters when questions have been posed that have irritated him a little bit, especially questions about the 51st state. And I kind of understand, but he needs to watch that temper. He has a temper, Carney. So we'll see how that all plays out. And the other thing that I have noticed, and I'm sure you have as well, is that Carney has been stealing all of the conservative campaign planks from their platform. The carbon tax, I got rid of the carbon tax. Well, it's still on the books. It's just been reduced to zero. The GST on new home buyers, exactly what Poilievre has been talking about for some time, and Carney taking that as well. And it's just mirroring what Poilievre has been talking about for months. Stealing all of that, trying to take the wind out of his sails. But the one thing that is pretty clearly there in the background is a carbon tax. Yeah, he got rid of that, sort of got rid of the consumer carbon tax, but then also has made it clear, if you really listen to him, that an industrial carbon tax will remain in place, and in fact it will be, they're going to replace that consumer carbon tax strictly with an industrial carbon tax, which means that it will just be applied further back in the production chain so that you don't see it. You'll pay for it at the cash register, as will the world. Anybody buying Canadian goods produced that are subject to the carbon tax, or anything produced using carbon taxed inputs. But it's just going to be woven into the price. So it really isn't getting rid of the carbon tax at all. That is, again, sort of a sleight of hand. I don't know if I'd quite come out and say it was a lie. I wouldn't go that far, because he has told us that. He's not really hiding it. But he is confusing people by taking these steps and signing that piece of paper, which wasn't really legislation. He doesn't have the authority to sign executive orders like the president. So exactly what that was, I'm not even sure. But it's weird. Everything is weird right now. And how are they going to win an election if they only have 187 candidates running out of 343 ridings this time? I think you're going to see a whole bunch of new candidates come online, come on stream before we get to the polls. And I'm not sure how many days they have. Let me just check to get candidates lined up. So let me just see if I can research this. I think it's like, well, I'll just see if I can find the answer here. So yeah, April 28th is the I guess we're looking at April 7th. Yeah, they'll have until April 7th to get candidates lined up. Not a lot of time. And so that means that all these parties will be, I think, foregoing any kind of process where you have potential candidates in ridings squaring off against each other through electoral district associations at the grassroots level. So you're going to see acclamations. You're going to see the parties going and trying to recruit candidates to get them to fill vacant roles as candidates in a lot of these ridings. And they'll need to have them in place in order just to even have a fighting chance in some of these ridings. So the Liberals are obviously going to need to concentrate on strongholds in key ridings, and that's going to mean Quebec and Ontario again for them. And that's where it's imperative that a party does well, because it's vote rich. You have a high proportion of, like a high concentration of seats up for grabs there. Ridings are seats. Not a lot of time. And so it's pretty clear to me then that the Liberals, Carney, calling this election in haste because they have momentum right now, largely because of what Trump has been doing, having this, I think, probably unforeseen or unintended consequence of giving the Liberals a boost heading into the election. And Carney wants to capitalize on that. Even though they don't really have the candidates in place, they're not really ready for this. I know that his aircraft, the Liberal plane, isn't even, they were hoping to have it like a vinyl wrap on it, I guess, and it's not going to be ready in time for the campaign kickoff. So they're scrambling to get this done as quickly as they can in order to capitalize on this surge in support coming from way behind, where they were really in danger of being even wiped out to the point where they would lose official party status, to now surging ahead. And if you look at the polls here tonight again, I'll just bring it up. I might have to call it back up here again. Just look at where they're sitting tonight. The 338 poll, which will become the 343 poll, because they have added more ridings now for this election. Here we go. I'll show you. So tonight the Liberals would win if they had enough candidates lined up. According to this poll, 178 ridings Liberals would carry for 178 seats. The Conservatives coming in behind them with 131. The Bloc Québécois, 25. The NDP, 7. And the Green Party, 2. Other parties like the People's Party not registering in this poll. Hard to say how much support, if any, they have, beyond what they were able to muster the last time. And they did make gains in the last election. And Maxime Bernier making the rounds on social media, podcasts, live streams over the past week. He was just on this program, as a matter of fact, about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. And hopefully we get him back, and Grant Abraham as well from the United Party of Canada. But even those parties have some vacancies to fill in some key ridings, and we'll see how all that plays out in the weeks ahead as we venture forth into this, what perhaps the most consequential, most important election in Canadian history, the 2025 Canadian federal election. And with that, folks, we're not going to go to the phones tonight because it's already well past the top of the hour. And I wasn't really sure how long we were going to go and where this was going to lead, but I was glad we could bring you 2 of the kickoff rallies and a little coverage of NDP leader Jagmeet Singh as well. Pierre Poilievre in Ontario, Mark Carney out on the East Coast in the Maritimes, kicking off their campaigns tonight. They are off and running. And with that, love you guys. Appreciate you all. Appreciate you hanging out here with me again tonight. And I will be back tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.